My beloved child, you have started to wonder if I stopped listening. Not all at once. It happened slowly, one unanswered prayer at a time, until the silence became so familiar you almost stopped noticing it was there. But I want to tell you something tonight that will change the way you hear every quiet moment that follows. I was never silent. I was working in a room you couldn't see into. Stay with me for a moment, because what I'm about to show you may be the very answer you stopped expecting. There was a priest named Zechariah, an old man, married for decades to a woman named Elizabeth, who had never been able to have children. They had prayed for a son so long that by the time we meet them in Scripture, they had likely stopped saying the prayer out loud. Some hopes get quiet not because they die, but because carrying them open and exposed for too long becomes too painful. One day, while Zechariah was serving in the temple, an angel appeared and told him his prayer had been heard. Not just heard that day, heard and already being answered, long before the angel ever spoke. Elizabeth would have a son, and that son would be John, the one who would prepare the way for everything that came after. Zechariah struggled to believe it, and because of his doubt, he was made unable to speak until the child was born. Think about that. The man who had prayed the longest for this exact miracle became silent at the very moment it began to unfold. I wonder if that's happening to you too. If the silence you're experiencing isn't a sign I've stopped answering, but a sign that the answer has already started moving, quietly, underneath everything you can currently see. Comment, I trust you, if you needed to hear that tonight. Here is something you don't know yet. Answers are not built the moment you ask for them. They are built the moment I decide it's time, using pieces that have to come together in a specific order. The right people, the right timing, the right readiness in you to receive what you're asking for without it breaking you. A house is not built by shouting the word house into an empty field. Someone has to lay a foundation first. Someone has to run pipes and wires through walls that will later be covered up completely, invisible to anyone who eventually walks through the front door and only sees the finished rooms. Right now, you are in the invisible stage, the wiring stage, the part no one takes pictures of. That doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means the most important work is happening exactly where you can't see it. There is another story I want to bring to you, because it will surprise you. The prophet Daniel prayed for 3 full weeks and received no answer, no vision, no angel, no word from me at all, for 21 days while he mourned and fasted, wondering the same thing you're wondering right now. Then an angel finally appeared and told him something remarkable. The angel said that from the very first day Daniel had begun praying, his words had already been heard and the answer had already been sent. The delay wasn't mine. The messenger explained that he had been resisted along the way, in a battle happening in a realm Daniel could not see, and had needed help to finally break through. 21 days of what looked like total silence were actually 21 days of a battle being fought on Daniel's behalf, without Daniel knowing anything about it. I am not telling you this to frighten you. I am telling you this so you understand, the moment you prayed, I moved. What looks like silence to you is very often motion you simply cannot see from where you're standing. Comment, God knows if this is bringing you peace right now. I know waiting like this asks something hard of you. It asks you to keep believing in a process you have no visibility into. It asks you to trust me with your eyes closed, in a culture that has taught you to trust only what you can measure and confirm. But faith was never meant to require proof first. Faith is the confidence that what you cannot yet see is still real, still happening, still moving toward you. Even in the exact hour it feels most absent, you are allowed to feel the tension of that. You don't have to fake peace you don't feel. I am not asking you to smile through this. I am asking you to keep showing up honestly, the way Daniel kept praying for 3 weeks without a single sign that anything was changing. He didn't know what I knew. You don't know what I know either. That's all right. You were never meant to carry the whole picture. You were only meant to carry today. Don't skip this next part because I think it's the part you need most. What if the very thing you're praying for needs a version of you that doesn't exist yet? Not a better you. Not a more deserving you, just a more ready you, someone with the patience to steward what's coming, the wisdom to hold it without letting it define you, the humility to remember where it came from once it finally arrives. I am not withholding your answer because you failed some test. I am preparing the vessel that will carry it, and that preparation takes exactly as long as it takes, not longer. Not one day more than necessary, but not one day less either, because rushing it would mean handing you something you weren't ready to hold on to. There is a woman named Anna I want you to know about. She spent decades in the temple, worshiping, fasting, praying, waiting for something she had been told would come but had not yet seen with her own eyes. She was very old by the time it finally happened. Most of her life had already passed in that quiet, faithful waiting. And then, one ordinary day, a young couple walked in carrying their infant son, and an old man named Simeon, who had been waiting just as long, promised he would see this moment before he died, recognized instantly who this child was. Anna was there. After all those years, she was exactly where she needed to be, at exactly the right moment, to see with her own eyes what she had spent a lifetime believing for. I don't know how long you've been waiting. I don't know how tired your faith feels tonight, but I know this: the waiting was never wasted. Anna's decades of faithfulness were not empty time before the real moment happened. They were part of the story. The long, quiet chapter that made the final scene mean everything it was always going to mean. Comment, I'm still waiting if you're in that chapter right now. I want to say something plainly because I think you need plainness more than poetry tonight. I am not distant from your prayer. I have not lost the paper it was written on, metaphorically speaking. I have not moved on to more urgent matters while yours sits in a pile somewhere, gathering dust. There is no pile. There is no forgetting. There is only timing, and the timing is not cruelty, it is care, applied with more precision than you could apply to your own life if you tried. What you asked for, I heard the moment you asked it. What you're still waiting for, I am still building. Here is what I want you to do while you wait. Don't stop praying, even if it feels repetitive. Daniel didn't know his prayers were already working, so he kept praying anyway. That persistence wasn't wasted effort. It was exactly what kept the connection open, even in the dark. Don't assume the silence means no. Zechariah's silence didn't mean no. It meant something was already in motion that his words couldn't have kept up with anyway. Don't measure my faithfulness by your clock. My timing has never once failed a single person who trusted it, even when it looked, in the moment, like it might. Comment, he is faithful, if you believe that tonight, even if it's hard to believe. I want to leave you with this picture. Somewhere, right now, pieces are being moved into place that you cannot see. A person is being prepared to say yes to something involving you. A door that has been locked for years is being quietly unlatched, even if it hasn't swung open yet. A version of your future that felt impossible a year ago is closer than you think, closer than the silence would ever let on. You think I've been silent. I've been building. I've been arranging. I've been preparing exactly what you prayed for, in exactly the way it needs to arrive, at exactly the moment it will mean the most. Keep your heart open. Keep your hands ready to receive it. And when it finally comes, and it will come, you will look back at this season of silence and understand it wasn't silence at all. It was me, working, the whole time. Comment, my time is coming before you go and carry that truth with you tonight. If this reached you, share it with someone else who's been praying quietly for far too long. They need to hear this too. Rest now, my beloved child. I was never silent. I was preparing. My beloved child, let me stay a little longer, because I don't think you're ready to stop listening yet. There is a question underneath your question. You've asked me why the answer hasn't come. But underneath that, there's a quieter fear. The fear that maybe it never will. That maybe you've been believing for something that was never really coming at all. I want to speak directly to that fear tonight. You are not foolish for still hoping. You are not naive for still praying about the same thing you've been praying about for years. Hope that refuses to die, even when circumstances give it every reason to, is not weakness. It is one of the strongest things a person can carry. Comment, I believe, if that hope is still alive in you tonight, even after everything. Think about a seed buried under frozen ground in the coldest part of winter. From above, there is no evidence of life. The soil looks dead. Nothing moves. If you only trusted what you could see with your eyes, you would assume that ground would never produce anything again. But underneath in the freezing dark, Something is happening that the surface cannot show you, yet the seed is not dying. It is waiting for its exact moment, the one moment when the temperature shifts just enough, when the season turns just enough, for it to finally break through. You are not a dead field. You are a seed in winter, and winter has never once been the end of the story for anything I've planted. I want to remind you of something you may have forgotten in the middle of all this waiting. Every good thing that has ever come to you before this moment once felt exactly the way this current wait feels now. Uncertain, delayed, silent, and yet it came. Every single other time it looked impossible, it still happened, in its own time, in its own way. Why would this time be any different? I have not changed. My character has not shifted. The same faithfulness that carried you through every other closed door is still active right now, in this door, even though you cannot see the hinges moving yet. Comment I receive if you're ready to stop doubting what I've already started. My beloved child, I also want to speak to the comparison creeping into your heart. You have watched other people receive the very thing you're still waiting for. You have smiled for them while something inside you quietly asked why their answer came, and yours hasn't. That ache is human. I am not going to shame you for feeling it, but their timeline was never yours to carry. What I am building for you is not a copy of what I built for someone else. It is shaped specifically for your life, your calling, your story, which means it cannot arrive on someone else's schedule and still be exactly right for you. Their spring does not cancel yours. Yours is still coming, on time, in the exact form only you were meant to receive. Here is something quiet I want to leave with you before we go further. Sometimes the answer is not one dramatic moment. Sometimes it arrives so gradually that you don't notice the exact day it began, and one morning you simply realize you're already standing inside what you used to only pray for. Don't miss it by only watching for lightning. Some of my greatest work arrives like sunrise, slow, quiet, undeniable only once you turn around and see how far the light has already come. Comment peace if you needed permission tonight to stop striving and simply trust the process. My beloved child, keep going. Keep believing. Keep showing up faithfully in the ordinary hours between now and the moment everything changes. I was never silent. I am not silent now, and I will not be silent on the day this finally breaks open into everything you have been praying for. Rest now. I am still working. I have not forgotten you for a single moment. My beloved child, there is one more thing I want to walk through with you, because I think it will settle something that has been unsettled in you for a long time. You keep asking me, when? I understand why time feels different to you than it does to me. A year to you can feel like an eternity. A delay of a few months can feel unbearable. I am not dismissing that. Your sense of time is real, and I made you to experience it that way for good reason, but the first want you to notice something about how I actually work. I have never once been late. Not once, in the entire history of everything I have ever promised anyone. There have been moments that felt late to the person waiting, moments where hope had almost run out, where the wait had stretched further than seemed bearable. But when I look back over every story I have ever written, not a single promise arrived after its true appointed time. What feels late to you is never actually late by my measure. It only feels that way because you cannot see the full shape of the plan the way I can. Comment trust if you're choosing to believe that tonight, even without proof yet. Let me show you something about rivers again, because I think you need this picture more than once. A river carves through solid stone, not by force, not by rushing, but by patient, repeated contact over a long stretch of time. If you watched that river for a single day, you would see no visible change in the stone at all. You might even conclude the water was too weak to accomplish anything. But return after many seasons, and you will find canyons. Deep, wide, undeniable canyons, carved entirely by something that never stopped moving, even when no change was visible to the eye. Your life is being shaped the same way right now, not through one dramatic breakthrough you can point to and say, that was the moment, but through steady, quiet, repeated faithfulness, yours and mine, carving something permanent out of ground that once seemed impossible to move. I know some nights the doubt gets loud. I know there are moments you wonder if you've misunderstood everything, if the prayer you've been praying was ever really mine to answer in the first place. Here is how you can tell the difference between a desire I planted and one you built on your own. The desires I place in you tend to outlast your effort to abandon them. You can try to walk away from what I've called you toward. Try to convince yourself it doesn't matter anymore. Try to bury it under distraction and busyness, and it keeps surfacing anyway, quietly, at 2 a.m., in ordinary moments, refusing to fully disappear. That persistence is not stubbornness on your part. It is mine, echoing through you, reminding you that what I start, I intend to finish. Comment, I won't give up, if that describes exactly what's been happening in your heart. My beloved child, I also want you to know that waiting well is its own kind of victory. One that doesn't always get celebrated the way visible breakthroughs do. No one throws a celebration for the season where you kept your faith quiet and steady while nothing changed on the outside. No one applauds the years you kept showing up honestly, kept praying even when it felt repetitive, kept choosing trust over bitterness, when bitterness would have been so much easier to reach for. But I saw it. Every quiet act of faith in the dark matters to me exactly as much as the loud, visible answer you're hoping for. You are not wasting this season. You are building something in it that the answer alone could never build in you. Here is a final image before I let you rest. Somewhere, right now, dawn is breaking over ground that spent the whole night in complete darkness. The birds begin singing before there is any visible light at all. Before the sun has even cleared the horizon, they already sense what's coming, and they start singing into the dark as if the morning has already arrived. That is what I am asking of you tonight. Sing into the dark a little longer. Not because you can see the sunrise yet, but because you know, deep in the part of you that hope lives, that it is coming. Closer now than it has ever been, closer than the silence would ever let on. Comment, thank you, Lord, if you're choosing gratitude even before you see the full answer. My beloved child, I was never far. I was never silent. I was never uncertain about what I was building for you. I am building it still, in this very hour, closer to completion than you know. Rest now. Morning is coming. I am the one bringing it.